Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Man to Man. I'm your host, Hugo Ribatika. Have you ever wondered just what sort of willpower or what does it take to achieve some of those goals and ambitions that you might have? Well, on the show today, we have an individual who's lost 88 kilograms. You heard me right, 88 kilograms in 3 years. Pastor G, great singer, gospel artist. Pastor G, thanks so much for coming on to Man to Man.
Hey, Ribs. What's up, buddy?
Pretty good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
It's good to see you.
It's been a minute.
You were a lot heavier than you are now.
In
the last 3 years, you've lost an incredible 88 kgs. But before we even get to that journey, I suppose the first question would be, at what point did you feel the need to start the journey of weight loss?
I think Ribs, it's been something that's been at the back of my mind for a good number of years. You know, you vacillate between having a great self-image because of one's faith in God and being a pastor, being a Christian. You know, that gives you a sense of positivity. But at the same time, the reality of life, when you are on a flight when you're wanting to get on a flight in the US to DC from Columbus and you're told you have to pay for an extra ticket because you're heavy, that kind of like sends that message loud and clear that you got to do something about it. But it wasn't until in the middle of COVID, you know, I think that first year when I lost my dad to heart failure and, you know, and asked myself, do I want to die a premature death? You know, and that's really when the questions and the answers became more real at that time. That was 2020, right in the smack in the middle of 2020.
So what's the heaviest you've been?
The heaviest I've been, I would, without putting myself on the scale, it's probably about 210. Wow. You know. Looking at my pictures and looking at the time when I started my journey, you know, I think it was about 210. I think that was 2018 most likely when I was touring Australia. I kind of like got the sense, I'm big.
So Now I've known you a long time.
Long time.
And obviously back
lifetime.
Back in the day, you went to school with my older brother. Were there issues of weight at all for you? Were there conversations that you had with people around you, with your family? Did anybody outside of that trip or that period where you decided I need to change the way I do things? Did anybody have a conversation with you?
I think it's, you know how it is. We live in African society. African society is very, very polite. We've got a sense of Ubuntu, which is a plus, but also a minus when it comes to handling issues man to man. I'll put that one in there for free. You know, and handling issues man to man and really speaking the truth. Listen, man, I think people skirted around it. If people did intimate it, it had to be, you know, very, very in a hidden way, you know, very, very proverbial, you know. But, you know, my family, my sisters, my close-knit family are the ones who say, man, you got to do something about it. My parents then, you know, would also speak about it. But, you know, I guess, and my wife especially was worried about it. But of course, you know us, man. We feel like, you know, I got it all together. You know, don't talk to me about that. You know, I got it all together.
So the question today, or a big part of the conversation, is this journey of weight loss that you've walked, right? Now, was there a trigger that led you to put on weight? Were there issues you were dealing with?
I think it's a question when we look at our historically, you know, growing up in an African family, first of all, Zambia, I was born in Zambia. You know, we idolized pop culture. And pop culture has its way of bringing in these images of pizza is good, burgers, fast food, and you idolize. I grew up watching Happy Days, Farnsworth, and all that. And they were set around a fast food place. And so burgers and chips and French fries and Cokes and all these sodas were really the life. And growing up in Zimbabwe, at some point you get exposed to also the idolizing of the fast food life. And pop culture kind of like elevates that element. And for me, those were the triggers, major triggers. I idolized that life. So when I became a young adult, working for myself as a trainee manager at Field Technical Sales, I had spending power. So what was my go-to? The things that I idolized. So you felt indulgent, and you felt that you had the BP, the buying power. So those were really the triggers, the whole pop culture, and how pop culture then sends these signals to your brain that this is good for you.
Now you have 3 sons. Do you have conversations with them about the discipline or around weight loss or eating or managing wellness?
Now we're having the conversations because I'm in it. And all of them are very disciplined. Of course, the young one is still experiencing life, but my oldest is pretty much into the gym life, into really taking care of himself. Even my middle son, so we've had those conversations. My wife Pam is a fitness fanatic. And so now the conversations are there. But before that, it was just, I ate what I felt, I ate what I wanted. I ate what I wanted. So, so the conversations are there now.
Now talk to me about some of the challenges, right? So you've talked about that flight from DC to
Columbus
to Columbus, and having to pay for an extra seat, an extra seat.
On Southwestern Airlines, it's now defunct. I can mention them.
How did it make you feel?
Man, I felt disrespected. I felt profiled. You know how us black men are with the whole Black Lives Matter, conversation. I felt disrespected. I felt profiled. But in reality, in hindsight, I was big. But I could still fit in a seat. But it's the person next to me who would, how Americans are like, they feel, they need to have their comfort. But it was really an uncomfortable feeling. Really, I felt disrespected.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about the disrespect when we come back. We're also going to touch on what life was like at your biggest, the things that you couldn't do, that you would have liked to do at the time. You're watching Man to Man. On the show, Pastor G lost 88 kilograms in the last 3 years, and he's going to unpack all of that for us when we come back. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Man to Man. On the show today is Pastor G, and we're having a conversation about his weight loss journey from a high of 210 kilos at one point, much lower now. In fact, 88 kilos is what he's lost in the last 3 years. Pastor G, before the break, we talked about the inconvenience or how you felt on that Southern Airlines flight when they asked you to buy an extra seat because you were a much bigger man. But let's talk about some of the inconveniences to life. I mean, what are some of the things that you couldn't do at your biggest that you felt, if only I was a little bit lighter? Going back, to when I was not even that big. I think each person wants to think of the time when they were the best versions of themselves. And at the best versions of myself, I could walk into Edgar's, buy a suit at a whim, get a shirt at a whim, get what I wanted at a whim without having to go to a tailor.
So I think the biggest thing was not being able to get in a clothing shop, seeing a shirt that I like and not being able to buy it because I was just too big. And that's exactly one of the major inconveniences. Yeah? The other major inconvenience is always having some form of comorbidity, like hypertension, blood pressure, and having your blood pressure being at 152 over 100, and you're not feeling well and that sort of thing. So the whole issue of wellness and health, sweating profusely as you're sitting having a simple conversation with somebody and you're breathing, so you go, yeah? So those are some of the inconveniences, bro. And so you've got to think, when I look back at those are some of the major inconveniences.
So possibly, what have you had to give up on embarking this journey?
Okay, what have I had to gain? Sorry, I look at the cup how full. Yeah, okay. What I had to give up, I've had to reduce my carbs intake. Because once you learn the science of weight loss and what your relationship with food has to be, you then understand that there's some food that I can't eat as regularly as I want to. I mean, hey, Hugo, at my heyday, I could put away 3-4 meat pies in one go. With no problem, man. 5 liters of Coca-Cola spaced out through the whole day with no compunction whatsoever. Yeah? So now, for me to get into a calorie deficit, and I know you understand it, being a CrossFit, fanatic, and I had to do things that made sure that I got in a calorie deficit and got into a fat burning mode. So that means I had to give up a lot of food that was calorie dense and go to food that was high protein but low calories, and high fiber. And so I had to stick to vegetables and meat. And so that means that I had to gain food that was less calorie dense and more healthier and would help me put myself in a calorie deficit. Because it's all about a calorie deficit. You can never outrun, you can never out-exercise a bad diet. So I had to move out of a bad diet into a diet that was good for me. Yeah.
Now one of the things that you've obviously had to deal with, Pastor G, is comments, remarks from individuals. And unfortunately, people will come at
social media will be social media.
And social media can be rough.
It can be rough because people get emboldened by sitting behind your phone. You're not sitting before the person face to face. So you write whatever stuff you want to write. And so sometimes I answer back because I have to keep my space because I try and keep my social media space positive vibes. Things that encourage others, inspire others. I value my inspirational net worth. I've had to deal with that. But of course you have to build a thick skin if you are somebody who is within the public space. You have to build a thick skin and learn to handle your social media because this person doesn't know you. And so you need to understand at least So you've got to learn, to restrain yourself. Sometimes answer back because for the sake of others who are being on the...
It's not easy though.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
When you think about restraining yourself, easier said than done. And then there's also the torment of people,
when I started Hugo, I remember there's one, especially South African bloggers, man, they went at me. Man, he's wasting his time, man. If you think of the accent, he's wasting his time, man. You're wasting your time, man. Forget about it, get an operation, man. I had to go through that, man, you won't do this. So all I can say,
many
all I can
naysayers.
say is how you like me now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I did it and I'm still doing it. And so to make people eat their words is what I live for. Because I know who I am, I know who I've believed in, I know what I'm capable of. And it's learning that, tapping into that inner self, inner drive to say, I'm gonna dedicate myself. I'm gonna decide, I'm gonna go for it. Committing yourself to passion, to purpose, and to perseverance, and actually getting it done.
Have your values changed?
My values have changed. I think they've evolved
Yeah.
from where they were. I still value people. I think I love people. I love interacting with people. I value my purpose, my God-given, which is to be a Christian communicator who communicates the truth of God's word through worship, music, preaching, teaching, and and the media, so that the people of God may be edified and the lost evangelized. So I still value my purpose,
Pastor G, when we come back, I'd like to have a conversation with you on family life.
Yeah.
What pressures that weight might have had on the shoulders of your wife, of your kids.
Yeah.
Because, when you talk about people attacking you on social media, there are people that are in and around us that attack the ones we love. So that's a conversation we're having with Pastor G on Man to Man today. We're back in a moment. Don't go away. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Man to Man. With me on the show today is Pastor G, and he's walking us through his journey from 210 kilos to 88 kilos less. Pastor G, let's touch a little bit on family and the pressures that you being a big man might have had on them.
Well, the pressure, of course, worry on the missus' side.
Yeah.
What if this guy just drops dead? What am I going to do? You learn, the kids as well, their own self-image because their friends are making fun of their dad. Dealing with issues, having to deal with just being fit, being just healthy. The cost that it takes to go to the ER because your blood pressure shot up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Or you're having to deal with some secondary infection or some stuff, So it's that kind of pressure that I've had to learn to deal with over the years.
So what conversation were you having with your three boys, right? Because
now we never used to have this conversation. But I know for a fact that
you don't feel you hung them out to dry if you weren't having a conversation earlier.
I think it's if they talked about it, of course, in a joking manner, and would talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not about hanging them out to dry. But also remember, family is family. If someone has got a big nose, and obesity in itself is a sickness.
Yeah.
It's not just a cosmetic thing. It is a sickness. It has to do with underlying issues such as self-esteem, emotional eating, all those things. And so what you get grateful for is a family that understood that this has been 80%, 70% of one's life.
Yeah.
And it is a sickness. And so to battle it then later in life and actually overcome the odds that come with it is a celebration. And the celebration is much more in focus more than the past.
So let's touch on this journey. Right?
Yeah.
And the conversations that you're having now, because I know you have a program where you're encouraging other people
Yeah.
to follow suit, to to lead better, healthier lives?
Yeah.
What are some of the questions that you get asked?
People think that weight loss is a quick fix. How did you do it? Did you do a quick fix? Is there a quick fix? There's no quick fix. Yeah? That's why you find that when you watched The Biggest Loser,
Yeah.
people lost so much weight in a short time, but within, when you trace the stories, they had gained back and even more. It has to do, so I think is the major question is, how can I do it quickly? You can't do it quickly. It's taken me 3 years. There's some dudes who've done it in a year. I mean, there's a guy who's running a hyperketosis page on YouTube. I won't name him, but he's an American, but he's lost 40 pounds in a month. Yeah? That's a lot. That's like 80 kgs. But that's unsustainable. The key is to build muscle memory that becomes a lifestyle change in regards to your diet, to what you eat, in regards to your exercise. I've had to build this over the years.
Now, you've got a date when you started this journey, right?
I started this journey on the 14th of March 2022. Yeah, but in the beginning of the year 2022, I was at 200 kgs. But the official start date of my journey, I was at, I think, about 194 now, 195 kgs, really. But I just rounded off to 200 because I know at the beginning of that year, I was really at about 200.
So why is the 14th of March so significant? I mean,
it's the date where I said, now I'm doing something about it. And it's significant because a friend of mine, Taz Mutungwazi, from Celebration Church, is the one who, and his wife Rutendo, are the ones who keyed me on to have a start date. And I started on and got on a program called Aruka, where we were watching weight, weighing yourself every week. And I got into that for like good 7 months. And in those 7 months, I lost close to about 48 kgs.
How did that make you feel?
Made me feel great. Fantastic. Have a starting point. You've got to have a point of reference, or it doesn't happen.
But I'm not going to give up, better Pastor G.
Nope, not even.
So
I was ready. I was ready.
How did you arrive at a state of readiness?
What I shared with you, in the middle of COVID, I tried losing weight. When my dad died, you see, the key is to get the big question, why should I do it? And my why is my kids and my wife. Once I got that why, there was no stopping me. And I'm still in that why. I want to see my last born get into adulthood, get a livelihood. Then I'm cool with going.
Grandkids.
And even if I don't see the grandkids, I'm cool. But just to get the kids in a place where they are living their own lives, then I can go. I'm good with that. If he decides to take me earlier, but at least they can say my dad did something special. Yeah?
Yeah, it's deep. It's motivating.
Yeah. So once you work on the issue of your why, there is nothing that can stop you on this earth to do what you need to get done to get it done.
So your conversation or your message to the men out there,
yeah,
who are watching this show and thinking about wanting to lose weight is find the why.
Yeah, find the why.
How do you stay there?
How do you stay there? Keep the why constantly in focus. That will tell you I can't eat this stuff. Yeah. Once you've tasted, I've been obese 80% of my lifetime. Yeah. When 80% obese, fat, big. You know me from my high school. I was chubby. Yeah. I wasn't big, but I was chubby. Yeah. From my high school days. But when I got into young adulthood, man, once I got married, worse. So once you are able to walk in a store and get a nice golf shirt like this, man, a nice trousers like that, without going looking for a tailor to make your golf shirt or a suit, and be able to walk in a store and get a jacket, man, nothing beats that feeling. Being able to stand in front of the camera and saying, how you like me now? I did it. Where the haters? Bring it on. And being able to accomplish. I'm on 112 kgs. You gotta get to 100 kgs. Get to 100 kgs. I'm 12 kgs away from that, bro. So, yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
No stopping.
Yeah, and we're watching this. We're watching this space. It's been great having you on the show.
Man,
now, I know that on 3K TV you've got a show, Transformation.
Transformation.
Just very quickly, what does Transformation speak about?
Transformation talks to people from all walks of life who've transformed into something, from where they were and what they are doing now.
You're the perfect testimony of that, right?
To inspire, inspiration, inspire you to aspire to fly higher. That's what we do on Transformations.
Well, I hope you're inspired. I certainly am. Pastor G, it's been great having you
Hey,
on
bro.
the show.
Yeah.
He's walked an incredible journey in the last 3 odd years. 14th of March 2022 is the year that he decided now is the time. And in that time, he's lost 88 kilos. Absolutely incredible. Stay tuned for another episode coming to you real soon of Man to Man, where we leave no man behind. Until next time, goodbye.